Hello, so in this tutorial I'll explain to you how to work with the Business Logic tab inside of the Advanced Workspace. So let's log in our framework and choose the Advanced Workspace. And we have here our Business Logic tab. So this will be the focus of our tutorial. So in this tab, basically it shows all the business logic layers that we currently have. So currently we just have one, so by default if each of these tabs, if you just have one layer, it shows automatically the files of that layer. Otherwise it will show the layers separately, the same thing that it shows in the data access layers that I showed in the previous tutorial. So let me just do a part here and just show you very fast the data access layer. So in here we have two layers, two data access layers. So to see the files inside, we need to click to see inside. The logic layer, because there is just one, it shows by default automatically the files inside of that layer. But if I want to, if I go to my layers, if I create a new business logic layer, automatically this will become something similar with this. So we can just do here very fast so you can have an example. So let's just drag here and let's just put here called a new layer called BL. Doesn't really matter what this layer does. Let's just save and rebuild so you can just see what happened here. So currently we see that we have the SOA layer, which was what we had before, and now we have our new layer, the BL layer. And then inside we have the corresponding files. Otherwise it will appear as the other UI appeared before. So the same thing here. If we delete this, we can just roll back this and go back to the previous UI. We are basically in here, it's showing directly the SOA layer, the files inside of the SOA layer. Okay, so first thing, we have here a menu which allows us to create a group, which is basically a folder inside of this specific layer. Then we can create objects automatically, which is basically to create some business logic services automatically inside of this specific folder. Or we can just download this folder, paste some folder that we had copied before, or refresh the specific contents. Then we see that we have here some files that appears always in all the layers. So the common, the module, the program and the resource appears in any layer. So basically the common is where I can have common files shared across multiple projects. The modules is where I have the files corresponding to the modules that I have installed. The modules, they are in here in the manage modules. You can do the same thing through the tools, clicking tools and click here manage modules, exactly the same thing. You'll see this thing, this panel here, where you see all the modules that you have installed. Then you have the program, which basically is a folder. Every time that you install a program to a project, it will copy the corresponding files inside of this folder here. And then you have the resource, which basically it's files that the system generates automatically when you are editing the pages, specific for resources. If you want to install a program, you just go to here tools and you have here install a program, and basically just need to follow the steps. Very simple. The files that appear here currently, they are showing all files, but if you select like a specific project, only show the files or the folders that selected project has access to. And then each of these subfolders has a specific menu. So basically the common and all the other folders have the same type of menu. As you can see, the module is the only one that has a different menu. So basically most of the folders have this menu, which allows us to create other subfolders, allows us to create files, allows us to create a service object, a service function. In this case, service function, because you are not inside of a service object, so it is a service function, allows you to create objects automatically and then do a bunch of actions related with the files, like cut, copy, remove the file, rename it, zip it, upload more files to that specific folder, download the folder, sync the properties, refresh the contents, and etc. Okay, let's see some of the menus here. If I do add service object automatically, basically this is to create a class which will contain then a bunch of service methods. If I click service add service function, basically what it will do, it will create me a function inside of some file, which will not be inside of a class. But for the sake, let's just, so you can understand this better, let's just create some objects automatically, so then we have this with some files here, so we can understand this better. So if you do create objects automatically, we have a tutorial explaining all of this, so I'll just do this very fast. I'll not explain anything of this, I'll just do this fast so we can have some files populated here. Okay, currently what we have here is it creates a file, then inside of that file it creates a class. Basically if I would done these actions manually, I needed to add the file and gave this, and I needed to give this name here. Then inside of this file I needed to do add service objects, which is the same thing, then do add service object through here. And then inside of the specific class I needed to do add service methods to create all these individual methods. So basically if you click in each individual methods, it will edit the specific methods, and this is basically what I showed you in the other tutorials, where basically in here that's where you create the logic of your service. Okay, more menus. So basically if we see the menus of the files, we see here that I can add other objects, I can add a function inside of this specific file, I can toggle the private services, so by default it only shows the public services. If I want to see if this has some private services, it will show me here the private services after I click it. Currently it doesn't have any, so I can see here there are no private services. Then I can edit the file directly by clicking here, edit file, where I could, this is pure codes, or I could manage the includes, so I can have some classes or some other services in some other file, or I have some other components that I want to add and reuse in this service, so I can always include other files with that components in here to the manage includes. And then I can do a bunch of actions related with the file itself. One of them is that we didn't have before, it's the diff file, so I can compare this file with some other file. Then I have the specific service objects, which allows me to toggle the private methods, allows me to add new methods, and allows me to edit that specific object. There are two ways of editing. So there are the visual way, which is this way here, or I have the code workspace way, which basically allows me to edit the code itself, which basically is the same thing than to edit the file. And then I have the multiple methods inside of this class objects, where I can edit them, which was the previous interface that I explained to you, or I can remove them, or I could see the properties. Currently we don't have any properties for this specific service. We don't have any function service here, so we just have currently method services. So let's just add a service function here, a dummy service function. So you can see an example. Let's just call it a done. So if we open now the school service file, I can see that I have a class here with the correspondent methods, so the object with the correspondent methods, but I have a function here, so I have a service function which is not inside of any of the class, so it's independent. So if I click the menu, it's the same thing. I can edit, remove, or sync the correspondent properties. Additionally, there are some files here for more advanced users, which allows you to cache the services, to create aliases for services. Some of these cache features you can edit these through the main settings of each service too, but if you are an advanced user you can edit it directly through the XML files too. Additionally, each class it extends the common service class, which basically is in here. So if you want, you can just go to this common service and edit and extend this class with some other methods that you wish, and automatically all the services will have that methods too. And that's it, so thank you very much.